Alright, welcome to Wow Money by myself, Lloyd Barnes, in collaboration with Katsuya Masuda through illusionist.com. First of all, thank you so much for picking this up and supporting all of us. It means the world to us. We've worked so hard to bring this to life, and it's taken such a long time, and we're really excited. Well, we've been really excited using it, performing it, keeping it secret, and now we're really excited to see what you guys can do out there to take it and make it your own, or use it however you want to, and just be able to have an amazing piece of magic, a Swiss Army knife of visual magic on you at all times. So just basically thank you from all of us at Illusionist, myself, Lloyd Barnes, and Masuda. With that being said, this is a really simple, basic download because, like we've told you in the trailer, this is very, very easy to do. And once you understand how it works and how you can apply it in different ways, you're just going to be able to run off and do your own thing with it. So unless you want a little history lesson now, it's only be a couple of minutes and I'm just going to tell you the whole process of what happened. You can skip right to the next chapter, which is how this works and how to execute the most basic form of build change. If not, get a cup of tea, a cup of coffee even, beer, pizza, sit down, and I'm going to tell you, because I think it's quite interesting how this actually came to life from first seeing WoW by Masuda. Alright, a lot of you have been in Magic for a very long time. Even if you haven't, if it's only a couple of months, the chances are you've seen WoW by Masuda. It's one of the most visually stunning close-up tricks of all time. If it's your first day and it's the first thing you've ever purchased, the first thing you've ever learned in Magic, then I'll give you a little idea of what's sort of gone on before. So a couple of years ago, maybe a decade or more, a man from Japan called Katsuya Masuda, who has an incredible catalogue of just insanely creative methods and ideas for magic tricks, came out with his latest release to the Magic community called WoW. And what this basically is a plastic sleeve that is see-through, and you place a playing card inside it, and it visually, in slow motion, changes to a signed playing card. And it's incredible. When it hit the market, the Magic market, the first time, people went crazy for it, like absolutely wild trying to get one. And then in the years since, Masuda released a few different versions, the face-up version and a more improved version of this. So ever since its release, people love it, people perform it, but the biggest issue with it was that why would you put a playing card in a plastic sleeve? It sort of doesn't make any sense. And for years, people have been trying to find out the perfect solution to it. So on forums, in the real world, I've seen people say that, well, I'll put it as my name tag and place a name tag inside there, and when I want to use it, I'll say, oh, you know, I can use this to do magic. Other people have suggested that you can say it's a device that gamblers use to place their cards into so nobody can switch them, you know, so it protects you. I made a post on a forum a couple of years ago. I was saying that you should put it into a leather wallet where the plastic ID window would be, so then you could show it as like a photo ID wallet. It would look kind of organic, and whether it was independent creation or not, and then somebody else actually went off and made that and made it into a wallet that you could drop your WoW gimmick into, and that came out really well. And then also Masuda came up with an idea of having the same plastic clear sleeve but ungimmicked, so you could perform it, take the sleeve back, and switch it, and then allow people to examine the regular sleeve. And they were all really creative ideas that sort of solved the problem of why is this plastic sleeve in play, but it didn't. I couldn't justify it. So when I create magic, one of the things I like to do, one of the approaches to it I take is looking at things that exist, but they use a really smart method, but it doesn't make potentially the routine amazing. So a very basic example would be, if you look at a levitation that uses invisible thread, then the audience often think the invisible thread's the method, right? So what if you use that invisible thread to do things like color changes or vanishes or appearances and linking things, which people have done in the past? By using that incredible method in another way, then you suddenly can make a synergy from a routine and a method, and it can become greater than the sum of all its parts. So this is the way I kind of like to think and approach magic sometimes. And what everyone was doing was trying to come up with a creative solution to the reason for using the plastic sleeve. And the path that I began taking was, well, everyone's trying to figure out A instead of looking at B, which is what's inside the plastic sleeve. And that's when I started experimenting with different things and making very crude, badly made home versions of either ideas. Some of them I posted on my Instagram, so if you go to @LloydBarnes on Instagram, you'll see. I shared one or two maybe, but not many. But one of the things was doing it for a Torn Restored card. So you'll see people like Shane Lim and other people, magicians, they'll do a Torn Restored card, and when it's finished, they'll put it in a plastic sleeve for people to keep and take home as a souvenir. And I thought, well, actually it's a great idea to use it in this way, also an interesting idea to use this way. What if you tear a card up and instead of sellotaping it back together or stapling it, you place it into a plastic sleeve like people are doing anyway. But then that playing card turns, visually reforms itself and heals, and you now have a restored playing card. And I was like, okay, this is more interesting to me now. This is starting to go somewhere. And I experimented with a bunch of different things, and you'll eventually see them on some video or maybe as an illustrious release in the near future. And eventually I came upon the idea of putting money, currency in there, paper money. And this was like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. But if I'm being honest, I didn't come up with the slimline wallet idea until like a year or two later, because first of all, they did kind of exist, but they weren't popular. I seen a Kickstarter campaign of a slimline wallet, and I'm ashamed to admit it, I didn't even put two and two together then. And then I bought a slimline wallet from Pete McKinnon, a leather one, or I had it as a gift. And I still didn't put two and two together then. And it's only when I was going through my drawer, and I actually seen my McKinnon wallet sitting next to my prototypes of the crudely made WoW gimmicks. It was someone I felt like I could have punched myself in the face. It was like, why didn't I think of this earlier? So yeah, a little bit embarrassing, but it was something like, oh yeah, of course this is the way to do it. Use it, like make the WoW gimmick a wallet that changes money. It just seemed abundantly obvious to me. So that was like, okay, now we're here. Let's try and bring this to life. So I went to South Korea in 2015, working with PH on the Roof. And when I was there, I went to some magic shops, and I was asking, guys, do you know Masuda? Do you have a contact for him? Do you have a phone number, email? And people who'd work with him through wholesale. And it was like trying to just catch this mysterious white whale, because I was getting information. I was being told to go on certain Japanese websites, and I was having friends from Japan translate for me and just try and always track him down. So eventually somebody gave me an email address for Masuda. And it was 2015, I sent this email saying basically, Masuda, I'm your biggest fan, and I would love to collaborate with you on this idea I have. Now, WoW is yours, like it's your method, it's your gimmick, it's everything to do with you. I have no creative input on this whatsoever. I just have an idea of using it in a different way, and instead of using a playing card, I would like to use money, like currency. And I heard nothing, absolutely nothing. And this year is 2019, and I get an email early at the beginning of the year. He emails back in broken English, like my email to him was in broken Japanese, because we don't speak each other's languages very well. And basically he said, yes, he'd love to hear the idea, he'd be open to collaborating and changing WoW in some sort of way. And that, he asked me what the idea was. So I said, it's basically using it with paper money. And he came back and he said he'd had that idea in some sort of a way, but not the same. Can I explain some more? So I told him exactly what I wanted. And within a day, he'd sent me a video of it working perfectly. And it was like, oh my good Lord, this is it, this is perfect. But we found through sending me prototypes that it wasn't perfect yet, because there was issues, a lot of different issues, such as sizing. So in the UK, the bills in euros, they get bigger as the denominations get bigger. So it was like, well, you have to have a unit that can house all of the different size bills that you need to be able to change to and from. We had to figure out, which was a very simple, but it did, we were thinking about it, process of what bill will we start with? Now, a lot of you are thinking, why are we starting with just a 1 for the US and the lowest denominations? Well, it's really simple, because in playing cards, this didn't really matter, but when you think of it with currency, why would we use the smallest one? Well, it's because if the gimmick was made so that a $100 bill would be in there and it changes into any other bill, then you start with 100 in your wallet and it changes into a 50 or a 20 or a 10 or a 1 or a 5, and then you hand the 1 out, which is so unimpressive. Why would you, people say, can you make me more money? Can you make money in Magic? So by using it with the lowest denomination, you can change it to anything. So you it starts off as a 1, and it visually becomes a 100, which is the bill everyone wants to examine. That is the bit they want to see. So obviously we have to just between us decide which way around we're going to do it. And then we have to work out the dimensions, and also then we have to figure out the right currency for each country, because He made the UK ones with our old paper bills, and not many people know this, but we now use polymer bills in the UK. So that was another thing, and it's all back and forth and trying to work on just basically make it to be perfect in every scenario. And that took a couple of months, back and forth, maybe 5 or 6 different shipments of prototypes until we finally got the ones we want. And where we're at now is something we've been using for ourselves, selfishly, for a couple of months, road testing it and figuring out the ideas. And one of the interesting things that I'd seen years ago on YouTube was a guy using Jonathan Cam. He's an incredible performer. I'm a massive fan of his work. Using the WoW gimmick to make a bill melt through a playing card. It's genius. And I thought, well, this is a wallet with bills in it now. Okay, so really quickly, the one thing to note, and depending on whatever currency you get, is that we've chosen to use the lowest bill denomination we can, and it's because of this reason. If the gimmicks, if you see, look, these are all blank, right? But the gimmick is loaded, the gimmick is designed to have, in this case, a 5 for the UK, 5 for Euro, 10 for Canada, 5 for Canada, 10 for Euro, and 1 for the US. Now, the Euro one is a bit different because we had to use a certain sizing, but they're essentially the lowest or close to the absolute lowest bill denomination you can find. And that's because the age-old question which you get asked is, can you make me money? So it would be very silly, I think, to have this as a $100 bill, for example, and inside was a real 1, and you would change the 100 into a 1 because you're making your money get worth less. But by having a 1, you can now change it into any bill, and it makes sense in mostly or every circumstance to say, I'm a magician, I can make money, watch this 1 turn into 100, because as soon as it's turned into 100, you can then take the 100 out. This will be left clear. We'll activate it. This will be left clear, and the 100 will be shown, as opposed to turn in 100 into a 1. It's just not very impressive. So that's the reason why we use the lowest denomination bills. Okay, so the way that WoW money works, and the WoW gimmick in general, is that you have a clear sleeve, and you'll notice, if you can look closely, that there's a black square, tiny black squares, and they run across in line. So black square, but it alternates from a black square to a clear square to a black square to a clear square. So if you see that, you can see them running all along here. Now, there's lines of black squares, but what happens is on the second line, they shift. So the black square is in line with a clear square either side. And it makes like a little sort of matrix of black and clear squares. So one black square has clear squares around it, and the clear squares have black squares around it, and it works all the way across the face. And then inside there is a little plastic slide, this slide here, and it moves back and forth. And what happens with this slide is that it has the same print on it, so that if you look at where the dollar is, the printing of the dollar is where the black squares would be on the top side. And then there's also the same though clear black squares. So when it's pushed the same width as a black square one way, it reveals the image. And when the slide moves in line, now all that's visible is black squares and clear squares. So again, when this shifts back the other way, now those clear squares are filled with the printed image beneath them on the slide. And the way to activate the gimmick is that the slide is moved just the width of one square over, and you can do it as slowly as you'd like, and when it's moved, it looks like it vanishes or changes if there's something in the sleeve. It's very, very easy to do. You just push the slide and the image either fills into place or vanishes, and it works just like that. So the way to execute the most basic color change is to take a bill, so I'll take a 20 in this case, and you want to make sure that the orientation is correct. So when we look, I push the slide even, you'll see that the president's head is facing up, so you want a $20 facing up the same way, and you're going to feed this in to the gimmick. Okay, so you turn the sleeve around, you're going to feed your 20 or 100 or any bill you like into the sleeve so that it's flush. And you also want to fold the 20 so it's the right size of the sleeve too also. You don't stick out the sides or anything. So feed this in, see how it fits nicely in there. But when it's clear, you can see the 20. And when it's closed, you see the 1. So all you need to do is you begin with the 1 on show, and you have the slides are designed so that they activate better when pushed in the corner, the top, well, the bottom left corner, but I'm turning it around to do this left-handed. So all you do is you show the 1, and when you push down right here on the corner where the slide is, as slow as you like, it slowly becomes a 20. And what's nice now is that you can turn this over and immediately take the 20 out and show that it's clear all the way through. And it's as simple as that. Now, the way in which I like to set my gimmick up is to place a bank card in the back and a business card. And that way it just looks like a slimline wallet. So I'll do that right now. So if I just take a random business card, you can put your own, I don't have one. So put a random business card in there and a bank card. Don't worry, this one doesn't work. I set it to be on the 1. And now I'm going to bring my phone out, my keys, this is my wallet. I don't even say look at my slimline wallet, I just throw this out. If I put it on the table, people just know that, if I put it face down on the table especially, people just know that it's my wallet. And it's just a slimline wallet. And then when I want to go to pay for something, I can remove the cards and place them in my pocket. Say, oh, all I have is a 1, use whatever pattern you want. And then whenever you like to, you can have that 1 change visually into a 20. Just like that. Okay, so this is how to execute some of the more interesting stuff that you've seen in the trailer. Now, the first one of melting an object through an object was inspired by a video that I first seen by Jonathan Cam using playing cards. What you do is instead of putting like any other bill inside the gimmick, you place the same 1 or 5, 10 or 5 from other countries into the gimmick in the same orientation. So, for example, if I take this 1 and slide this in there and line it up, it goes from a 1 to a 1. So aside from the slight darkening, which will be covered by the object inside, nothing happens, okay? So if I take another object, for example, I'll take a 20 and I'll fold it lengthways. If I place a bank card inside the wallet, this helps me hide where the 20 is. So that's in there like this. So what you want is a card inside there to shield when you insert the bill. Now you're always, no matter which way you're gonna melt it up or down, you're always gonna place this bill above, so between the gimmick and this bill. It's not gonna go beneath it, it's gonna go right above it here, okay? So I'll take the card out for now so you can see. And I'll just slide this in. See how it goes between the layers? Just like this. I'm gonna feed that through. It's nice to have a rigid bill too. But the reason you have a card in there, if you can see, is that when you're performing this, you can cover the top edge, but now you can't tell whether that bill is above the 1 or beneath the 1, okay? So again, like we did earlier, depending on which way you want to do it, you can either move this back and forth. I'll do this in slow motion. So you can wiggle this as you activate by pressing the corner and have it slowly melt through and up. Or you can do it the opposite direction and have it melt down through the bill. And then to clean up, you can either show it, making sure the card covers it here, and then you just pull it out. So here, I'm going to melt it through the dollar, just like this, so they can see it clearly, and pull everything out and show that everything looks fair and clean. And the same applies to the angle zero presentation. If you know how angle zero works, if you don't, you can get it on MagicStream or illusionist.com. You take a corner from the torn card. You have the same one inside the bill, inside the gimmick, as the one which is on the gimmick, or 5 or 10, depending on what country you're in. And you're going to slide that corner and align it so it's about halfway inside the gimmick. Okay, so you can see it there. Now when I push the slide, it vanishes. So all you do is perform angle zero, and when you want to make it appear with the gimmick activated, you now set it to go clear. I pretend to squeeze or make some sort of magic gesture, and that corner appears right on top of the $1 bill, and it looks incredible. And now you can take the dollar bill out and the corner. As for the piece through, so what I do is I tear 2 corners off at the same time on duplicate cards. I look roughly where it is, so look, that 8 is pointing down with a torn corner here. I activate the gimmick so that you can now see the wow $1. I place the 8 roughly where it is, and I cover it with my fingers, and all I'm going to do is just rub and pull back, and secretly the piece is here. So when I turn it over, you can see the piece down here. But at the same time, I can push the gimmick, the slide at the top corner as I rub, and now it looks like that 8 closed corner is penetrated right through. And what I like to do is, because I have a bit of confidence in this, is that you can hand this to them to take it out, because they won't accidentally, it's very hard for them to accidentally activate the sleeve, because they're pulling, they'll be pulling, they won't be pushing. So they can actually take this and then pull the corner and the dollar bill out. And the same applies for the penetrations as to wood stirrers. You can try and use slim coins, any object you think that could go inside. And there's a few other ideas which you can use this for. We're at the end, that is everything. Again, this is a really, really short download because there's not much to it. This is so easy. You have your bill preloaded and the gimmick activated, and you just press the slide and it slowly changes, and you hand the bill out. Stick your credit card back in there and your business cards and place it in your pocket. I feel like I'm oversimplifying it, but it really, really is that simple. So not an extremely long download this time, folks, but just from all of us, myself, Masuda, Illusionist, thank you so much for supporting this. We know you're gonna have so much fun playing with this and getting out there and just coming up with some crazy magic. Like I said, my favorite thing is to see what you guys tag me in on Instagram, because I only think in certain, like everyone thinks in their own way, and I've become a bit snowblind, I like to say, because there's only so many different ways I can apply this. I know that there's people out there so much more creative and smarter than myself, that you're going to do something with this which is just going to melt my mind. So tag me on Instagram, show me the videos. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. Now, if you want to reach Masuda or see Masuda's other products and effects out there, they're literally so good. You can find him at his website, and I've made sure I have it ready to show you. It's masudasatto.com, so MASUDAS -atto.com. There's a Japanese version and an English version of the site, and you can see all of this incredible range of products through there. One in particular that I just love is 5 black holes. If you haven't seen that, go and check it out. It just fried me for so long. I had to literally buy it to learn the method. I was fooled. All of his stuff's amazing, but I'm sure you can contact him through his website and through there. So for all questions, anything, big, small, whatever it is, it must be sent to support@illusionist.com. There's no point sending it to my social media inboxes at all, because I have multiple different social media accounts. I barely get enough time in a day between shooting and all the traveling around the world that I do to answer my emails. Now, what support@illusionist.com will do, they will take the message and they'll decide whether it's for the warehouse, whether it's for internals, whether it's for the whatever department, and then they will send and answer that email accordingly. If it's a message for me, they will email me and I will get it directly through them via my email, and I will respond to you. But don't send it to my social media, because it just gets lost and buried. because I just have too many different accounts and too many different people messaging me about different things. If you want a response from myself, you must send it to support@illusionist.com. And I'm not saying this because I think I'm some sort of like popular person or anything. I learned my mistake with Cypher. We were not expecting it to be the world's best-selling magic app. And we didn't anticipate that. We put it online, and myself, Garrett, and Will, our social media inboxes were flooded/destroyed. And they continually are, with people messaging all the time about different things. So if you want a response, if you want me to see it, you just have to message support@illusionist.com. And also check out illusionist.com to see our range of other amazing products, our playing cards, our tricks, the new stuff we got coming. I want to tell you what it is, but it's worth checking out. So keep your eyes peeled on there. If you want to see the older versions of WoW that I come up with, if you want to see the new versions that I've got, that I'm working on, check out my social media @Lloyd Barnes on Instagram, and just search Lloyd Barnes on Facebook and other things, and I'll pop up somewhere. It's not just stuff related to WoW, there's a bunch of other visual magic all the time coming out. So if you want to see some more magic from me, you can follow me on social media @Lloyd Barnes. And for all inquiries, please send them to support@illusionist.com. I don't mean to drum that in, but if you want to reply, that's the only way you're going to get it. But that's it, there's nothing else left to say. Thank you from myself, Masuda, the entire Illusionist team, illusionist.com. Guys, we know you're going to love this. We know you're going to go out and melt some eyeballs out of their skulls. Have an amazing time performing WoW Money, and I will see you very, very, very soon in the next video.